Hello, everyone. Welcome to Let's Go Up Podcast Edition,
where we explore the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven.
We're your hosts. I am Dean.
And I'm Karitas.
I like the way you said that. There was a lot of authority behind that.
Authority.
Yeah.
I know who I am. I know what my name is, except not my secret name. We have a secret name.
The White Stone name.
The White Stone name. I have not heard that one yet.
Karitas, today we're going to talk again about the Ekklesia.
Again?
Is
there anything else to say?
Last week was epic.
So epic, yeah.
We went places we didn't even know where we were going.
Dean, you're going off script.
It was completely off script. Completely.
It sounded better, though, than when prime minister or presidents go off script.
That's right.
Those are always funny.
Yeah. Bring him back.
The poor speechwriters.
Yeah.
It's literally my job to make you sound cool. Stick to it.
That's maybe what we're missing here. We don't have anybody writing our speeches.
I know. But we do have you to edit out the ums and the ahs. Like.
All the bad habits.
Yeah.
But they are disappearing naturally now. Very happy about that.
As you just said, or did you say I'm? So Nathan got a phone call today, interrupted sacred coffee time. Old coworker / friend of his was applying for another job somewhere, and it was someone calling for a reference.
Oh, okay.
He answered all the guys' questions, and they were all good answers. And when the question period was done, the man was like, okay, well, thank you very much. And Nathan's like, actually, I have one more thing, if I'm allowed to say. It's actually the most important thing about this guy, more important than any of your other questions. And it has to do with his character, because none of the questions were about the guy's character. And Nathan just gave him a couple examples. And one of them was, a few years ago, my mom suddenly passed away unexpectedly. And I found out later that he had gone to my boss privately, and he said, listen, Nathan's mom just passed away and I just want to be able to bless him somehow. So can you give my entire next paycheck to him? Now, this is a guy who's a single earner for his family of 5 kids, and they are not rich.
Wow.
Right? They live penny to penny pretty much. And he's like, I want to really bless him and I want you to give him my whole paycheck. The boss did not give him his whole paycheck. He's like, no, man. But anyways, so Nathan shared this story with the guy. And he's like, and that's not just a one-off thing. This is the kind of guy he is. This speaks into his character. It's just who he is. He sees other people. He cares about people. He's compassionate to the point where the boss is like, no, that's too much. And so the guy actually then went on a whole spiel about how that's his number one thing he looks for in people. I don't even know why my questions weren't about that, because I've hired people who weren't even trained or skilled in the job, but their character won me.
Right.
Because you can teach someone anything. If they have good character, and a good work ethic, they don't have to know it. So anyways, that was the story he shared with me today.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome, Dean.
Character is so important. A lot of what I do is interviews and hiring people. You can teach people skills, but you cannot teach them character. Yeah. So I always look for character.
Yeah.
Well done, Nathan. Shout out to Nathan. Woohoo. Excellent way to start. Karitas, last week we started on something that I think we want to carry on today. We started talking about the Ekklesia and how it is meant to govern. If you were listening to us last week and you go, what were they talking about? I've never heard that word before. So
I love how long that goes.
I know, it's a long time.
You think it should end and then it doesn't, and then
keeps going. So what does it mean to govern?
As the sound is still chiming through my head.
Govern.
I don't think we were talking about running for city council.
No. We're not talking about running for city council. I think we need to speak into the word govern, because right now it is actually a now word. Starting to hear it everywhere I go.
Yeah.
It's a word that Holy Spirit is emphasizing.
Yeah, you had this word quite a while ago. I think you've had it on your desk for a year, right?
More than a year.
God's like, not yet, not yet, not yet.
Now. Go.
Yeah. And then amazing how when the now go happens, you start actually hearing it in other places
Yes.
around the globe as well,
Yeah.
which is always encouraging.
Yeah. The first place I started hearing the word govern was in the realm of nature. I started to hear people talking about the governance that we have as sons and daughters. All creation is longing for the sons and daughters to be revealed. Why are they longing for us to be revealed? Because when we are revealed, we carry the original governing mantle of heaven that was given to us in the garden, which was meant to govern the earth on behalf of heaven in a peaceful, loving, releasing way. And so nature and creation is longing for that to come back so that we could release it from the futility that it's been subjected to. So when we're released into sonship, the government of God is released and nature is released from the timeline that it's been subjected to, right?
Yeah.
Started hearing that first. I started hearing people talking about waking up in the middle of a storm, actually being able to feel the heartbeat of the storm and communicate with it and release the storm from its torment to the place where the storm didn't have to storm anymore. And other things in nature where people would step into governance of heaven over different things that were happening all over the cosmos. I've heard people talk about being out in the cosmos somewhere at some nebula where something is happening and releasing the kingdom of heaven over a situation that was happening somewhere and causing peace to come over a region of our galaxy that we don't even know exists.
Wow. So the guy in front of you at the grocery store literally could have been in a nebula. You have no idea. Wow. Yeah. Starting to see pockets of
governing. Yeah. The kingdom of heaven, the government rests on the shoulders. Of the increase of that government, there will be no end. So this is about governing. But we're just starting to see the tip of the iceberg here.
Yes.
The tip of the sword.
And the no end, it's limitless. So this is a sword that goes on and on.
Yep.
Yep.
No end to the depth of it. And then I've now started to hear individuals who are receiving mantles of government, going into heaven, being active in court cases that are going on there, things that are happening in the earth that are not right. And there's a court case in heaven, and sitting in the courts of heaven and actually having say in the things that happen on the earth and being able to be part of the government that brings heaven to earth.
That's way more productive than ranting about it in the lunchroom.
Good point.
Okay, guys, let's just stop this rant right here. We need to figure out how to access this in the courts of heaven. Then we can actually be of some earthly good here.
There you go. So right now there's a lot of talk of that. There's talk of that kind of government happening because heaven has courts. Heaven has scales and balances. There are things happening in our countries, in our regions, in our cities that heaven wants to have a say about, and we are part of that government. So now I'm starting to hear about something else. I'm starting to hear about groups of people, the Ekklesia, rising up, taking that authority and receiving that mantle of government over their regions.
Yeah.
So this has been kind of a progression. It's been happening for a couple of years now, but now it's really starting to come out, this word. Have you heard anything?
The only thing I've really heard about it, and I haven't even read this book, is I know Liz Wright.
Yes.
That's not her accent. Liz Wright.
That's good.
I need to practice it. I've just got the wrong area of the UK going. She has a book called Ekklesia Rising.
Okay.
Which I have not read.
All right.
But I have heard this word.
Okay. Yeah.
And I listened to a podcast last week where these people were talking about Ekklesia and, oh, wait, that was us.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and I've heard other people talking about it. Dutch sheets.
Dutch sheets?
Dutch sheets.
That's a name?
It is.
Whoa. We need to have
You need to check out Dutch sheets.
Is this a guy
he
or a
is so
girl?
good.
We need to have him on here with a name like that.
He is amazing. Amazing authority.
Yeah. Awesome.
And so here we are. Karitas and Dean.
We are.
Let's go up.
Let's go up.
We're crawling down to the end of the sword and touching the tip. It's sharp.
It's got to be sharp because it's got to cut through all the old belief systems and the old ways of thinking. And you got to poke that hole. Renewal of the mind, so you can understand the good, perfect, pleasing will of the Lord. Sometimes it takes a little poke.
All right. So governing is an important now word. Mm-hmm. It's something that Holy Spirit is releasing understanding on right now. So what does it look like for a group of people to govern rather than have church? Completely different concept. We are going to talk about that in this and upcoming podcasts. Wait for it. We're going there. We know it's different language. We don't even fully understand it ourselves, but we're going to go there and we're going to believe that Holy Spirit will give us language for it as we go forward.
Alrighty.
Karitas, Ekklesia is very much a city force. We talked last week about how the Ekklesia in Jesus' day was the city council of the day. It's interesting to me how Paul's letters were written to churches in cities. Ephesians, Philippians, Colossia, Thessalonica. The 7 letters to the churches in Revelation were also all written to cities. So this is very much a word for cities and regions. Jesus wants to touch cities. And right now he's bringing this word forward because he cares about your city.
Yeah, it's not just, oh, I'm glad that's happening down there in Reading. We had talked about them last week a little bit, didn't we? No, he wants this in your city and our city and their city. They're his cities.
They are. Abbotsford belongs to Jesus. My city, Chilliwack, belongs to Jesus.
Yeah, and what is he seeing over these cities? What is he seeing over these particular regions?
What is his will? We are to bring that and govern that. And one more thing that I wanted to say. This all came to me as I was editing last week's podcast, by the way. Right now, many conversations that I have with my friends, a lot of them understand somewhere in their heart that something is not right and that there's something missing, but they don't know what's missing. And so I just wanted to say to anybody who feels that in their experience of gathering with other believers, don't be discouraged. There is an answer. There is a key. The thing that's missing is the message of governance. We've made it about a lot of other things, but I'm hoping that in the next few weeks as we talk about this, it'll become clear that from heaven's standpoint, heaven wants to bring a government of peace over regions. And so it's us being the administrators of that government. That's what people are missing. That's what we're missing in our heart. That's what we know is supposed to be there, but somehow we understand that what we're involved in, it's not happening like it should be, and we don't know why. But we're going to talk about that. Hold on. We're going to get there. It's all coming.
And be okay with change.
Yep.
Things looking unstable and different and not complete for a while. It's an okay process.
Yeah. If you enjoyed today's podcast, consider hitting like and or subscribe because it really helps.
Yeah. Or the notification bell if you want to be notificated. And
Or share.
And there's a share. Yeah.
If you're feeling benevolent.
Wow.
Also, our website.
Yeah. Let's go up.us. Super easy, super breezy, super beautiful.
We're in this together.
We're in this together. .us. Yeah.
All kinds of new things, links to links.
Blogs and some soaking music.
Yes.
Beautiful.
All wonderful things. A good place to find everything in one spot. Let's go up.us.
Yeah.
Check it out. Okay, Karitas, on with our subject. Today we're going to talk about Jacob's ladder. I'm feeling it.
Of course you are. It's in Genesis, right?
Oh yeah, it's my favorite book, but whatever.
I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. No, that's a good spot because is that not the first place that, where is it here?
We're going to be in Genesis 28, yeah.
Yeah, the first place the house of God is mentioned, right?
Yes.
So if we're going to be talking about the Ekklesia, it's a good place to start.
That's where we need to go.
Okay.
So the first place that worship was mentioned in the Bible was when Abraham took Isaac up to the mountain to worship. The first place that the house of God is mentioned is right here. Jacob is running away from his brother because he's just ripped him off of his entire inheritance.
Brothers, I tell you.
Oh my goodness. What did he do that for? You know what I've never been able to understand about that story? Why did Esau sell his birthright for a bowl of soup?
I would want to try that soup before answering this question. Maybe it was like the world's best bowl of soup.
It must have been spectacular. But once Esau sold it, somehow Jacob was able to actually get the birthright through a lot of deception, but
Yeah.
he did it.
It's a
Slippery
bizarre,
guy.
yeah, bizarre story.
A really bizarre story. I can't imagine a father not being able to tell the difference between two brothers somehow.
Yeah.
This whole story is a bit of a mystery to me
Yeah, they must have sounded almost identical.
because they both talked and everything.
Yeah.
Like, you wouldn't recognize the voice of one
You
over the
know,
other.
though, I remember as a kid, because I had 3 sisters, we would confuse our friends on the phone a lot because we all talked the same and sounded the same. But you could have a whole conversation before they realized they were talking to the wrong sister. Ah! Never knew who you were going to get and if they were just going to play along. I kind of get it.
Okay, maybe.
Yeah, some siblings sound quite identical.
But Esau was a really hairy man and Jacob was smooth. So Jacob put like camel skins on his hands. I don't know how he pulled it off. How did he do it? One way or the other. He got the birthright. He's terrified because his brother's going to kill him.
Yeah.
And he runs, running away from everything.
Yeah. Come on, guys.
He's fleeing for his life and he gets to this town. He's tired, doesn't know anybody there. So he takes a rock, a big rock, puts it on the ground, falls asleep on the rock. And he has this dream, the famous Jacob's ladder dream. So we're going to read about that.
Are you going to read it in a British accent today?
No, just my regular Dean accent. Jacob left Beersheba and set out for Haran. When he reached a certain place, he stopped for the night because the sun had set. Taking one of the stones there, he put it under his head and lay down to sleep.
First of all, can I just interject?
Please.
I'm really glad that this was put in the Bible, that he decided to stay there all night because the sun had set. Because if they didn't put that in there, would you know the sun had set?
The sun is set.
I'm saying this because I've gone to university and you've written a book, send it to publishers. Same thing. When you write an essay or you write a book, the amount of red lines they cross out.
Oh, yeah.
Redundant because the sun has set. Well, yeah, you just said it was night.
That's really good. It's usually there for a reason, though. There's usually some hidden mysterion behind it.
Yeah, one day I'm going to be like, oh my goodness, I didn't see that.
My goal is to use all of our sound effects within the span of 5 minutes here. Okay. Lays down to sleep, and he has a dream in which he sees a stairway resting on the earth with its top reaching to heaven, and the angels of God are ascending and descending on it.
Wow. Okay, that's amazing. And behold, the Lord stood above it and said, I am the Lord. Sorry.
Deeper.
Good. Poor Dean editing this. I am the Lord God of Abraham, your father, and the God of Isaac. The land on which you lie, I will give to you and your descendants. Also, your descendants shall be as the dust of the earth. You shall spread abroad to the west and to the east and to the north and to the south, and in you and in your seed, all the families of the earth shall be blessed. I am with you, and I will keep you wherever you go, and will bring you back to this land, for I will not leave you until I have done what I have spoken to you.
Then Jacob awoke from his sleep and freaked out.
Yeah, sounds about right.
He thought, surely the Lord was in this place and I was not aware of it. It says he was afraid. And he said, how awesome is this place? This is none other than the house of God. This is the gate of heaven.
Whoa, this is the gate of heaven. Wow.
Yeah. So he's freaking out.
Yeah.
It's like angels going up and down. He's like, I didn't know where I was.
Yeah.
This is the gate of heaven. How awesome is this place? He was afraid. Early the next morning, Jacob took the stone that he had placed under his head and he set it up as a pillar, and then he pours oil on it.
Just happened to have all
Random.
this oil in my bag here.
Random.
Yeah.
Why does he pour oil on
So you're running away, but you have to pack your oil.
essential oils?
Yeah.
That's right.
Must take only the essentials.
So now he names the place Bethel, which means the house of God, though the city used to be called Luz. So let's change to Bethel.
Then he made a vow, saying, if God will be with me and keep me in this way that I am going, and give me bread to eat and clothing to put on, so that I will come back to my father's house in peace, then the Lord shall be my God, and this stone, which I have set as a pillar, shall be God's house, and all that you give me, I will surely give a tenth to you.
Okay, wow.
It's so good.
There are a lot of details in there.
Yeah.
My version says, and I think I'm New American Standard, this stone that I have set up as a pillar will be God's house. What a weird story. Running away
With his oils.
with his essential oils,
Yeah.
gets tired, finds a big rock, puts it down. Can you imagine sleeping on a rock
I must find the hardest thing.
that I can find to put my head on?
I heard there's worlds inside.
World's in this rock. Ooh. Yes, he puts his head on it, falls asleep, has a dream or a vision. There's a stairway, angels ascending and descending into heaven, and then the Lord is at the top, speaks a prophetic word over him.
Yeah. Gate between these two worlds.
Yeah, he freaks out. He's like, I didn't know where I was. This is an awesome place.
It must have been so vivid and intense for him to be so startled when he was up.
He changes the name of the place. He said, this place is going to be called the house of God.
Yeah. And he poured out all of his precious oil
On the rock.
Like this was a big deal and everything changed.
Yeah, random. And at the very end, promises to give God a tithe. I made a list of all the things I see in here. This is my list. Maybe you see some other stuff.
I don't know if I heard this from you or someone else, but I just had here that this section, it prophesies the nature of the house of God.
Yes, it sets out the foundations for the nature of the house of God. Okay. Yeah. The first thing I see is rest or sleep. So he's resting. A large stone, very significant, which he puts his head on. Oil. So oil in the Bible speaks of a few different things. It can speak of the Holy Spirit, or it can also speak of union. Prophetic revelation, dreams, visions. How about a stairway or a gate to heaven? Interaction with angels, ascending and descending. The presence of God. He said it's awesome. This place is awesome. I find this very interesting. A prophetic word from the Lord saying that he would give Jacob the place on which he was resting. The territory where he was going to be given to him. Promise of safety and prosperity. And at the very end, there's mention of a tithe. All things that are very significant to the house of God. There's a place in Matthew where Jesus talks about the rock. And he says there's two things that can happen. Either you can fall on the rock and it will break you, or the rock can fall on you and it can crush you. I think there's a third option. You can put your head on the rock's chest.
Yes.
Sleep on the rock.
I picked 3.
That rock of revelation, we can rest on it. I'm thinking of John putting his head on.
Yeah, the chest of Jesus on this rock.
Something completely different.
Yeah.
So, Karitas, what does all this have to do with the house of God? If this is the nature of the house of God, let's move that forward into our era. And let's realize that the house of God is actually not what we're talking about anymore when we talk about Ekklesia, but the house of God is part of our inheritance and it's part of our heritage. It was and did become at that point in time the synagogue, the place of meeting, the place of God's habitation.
Okay, yeah.
When they went to translate that word Ekklesia, they kind of took that concept of it being God's house, the place where we go to worship and the place where we gather, took a word that kind of meant that, church.
Right, okay.
So the house of God, building the house of God, it's not a bad thing. There's a lot of really good things attached to it. However, even if we took the things in this list and we applied them to our current church, most of these things we don't even have in our churches.
Right.
If we take this and apply it over to today, we would need to be in a complete place in our gatherings of rest. No striving whatsoever. Zero striving. We're resting in his presence, complete and utter rest.
Yeah.
And then once we're in that place of rest, we are having a corporate encounter with heaven where the angels are ascending and descending on our gathering, if that's what we're calling the house of God. So we're going to be so in tune with heaven that we're going to be interacting with heaven as a group of people. There's going to be prophetic utterance and words of destiny spoken over the gathering, giving the house of God the territory on which they are planted. So if they're planted in your city, that city comes under the kingdom of heaven. I will give you the place that you're resting as an inheritance. And then Jacob wakes up and he's freaked out in awe. The presence of God is there. This is a gateway to heaven. The place of our gatherings would be a gateway to heaven. It would be a place where we corporately ascend and descend with the angels into heaven, and where heaven interacts with us in a very practical way. Safety and prosperity and rest, and the people would be giving like crazy.
Oh, yeah.
So there would be no lack of resources. So all those things coming from that story, if we carry them forward into our current day situations, that would make for a pretty exciting gathering already.
You would be counting down. You know, you have like an Advent calendar for Christmas and such. You would have that every week. Countdown. We're going there.
Yeah, unbelievable. I mean, that's what we should be at bare minimum looking at.
That makes me excited. You know, and I'd heard before, one of the worst things about religion in any belief system is the idea of not me, not yet. You know, well, that's great, but that's not for me or not yet. You never access what's actually available. You don't believe it's for you or it's for now. But to get rid of the not me, not yet deception and see something like that, accessing this portal to heaven and interacting, having these experiences with angels and hearing the Lord and getting prophetic words. Now, for us here.
Well, I can tell you what, this happened a long time ago. I don't know why it wouldn't be for now. We're talking thousands of years ago that this precedent was set up. This is in Genesis, by the way.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't it be for now?
Yeah. Jesus tore this veil and he says, I give them the glory, Father, that you gave me. And we move from glory to glory. And I feel like experience to experience and depth to depth, higher and higher, more and more than any of these amazing stories we've read in the old. Just like multiply it by infinity for what's available for us here on this side. It's just exciting when you start to believe what he's actually saying. It's like, whoa, my goodness.
So now Jacob, he takes the rock, he's like dumbfounded, sets it up, names it the house of God, and pours oil on it.
It's official.
It's official in the form of the covering of the Holy Spirit and union. How precious is it when brothers and sisters dwell together in unity.
Yeah.
It is like the oil that runs down.
Whoa.
The oil of union.
Yeah.
So now we've got union. So now we're talking about a group of people in the house of the Father who are united and one with him and with each other, and who are lovers of the King and of Jesus, and who are his bride. There's union involved here.
Wow.
So all of these things, when you put them together and you mix them up, you come up with the house of God. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. But I go to prepare a place for you. And if I do, I will come and receive you to myself, so that where I am, you may be also. So now Jesus is talking about many mansions, and we are the mansions. We are the temples in the Father's house. And he's talking about going to prepare something for us so that he can come and receive us to himself. Now there you have union. And where he is, we can be also. So we're in him and he's in us. And
just keeps getting better.
Keeps getting better and better. So that's the Father's house. That's the house of God.
Oh, that's it. It's like, what?
And there's one other thing that happened in this story, and that's that Jacob got an identity. The Father told him who he was. I am the God of Abraham, Isaac, and you, Jacob. And he told him who he was and what his destiny was.
Yeah, wow.
He said his children would be like the dust of the earth. He showed him his destiny and his future and who he could be. Jacob had just come through this really bad place, and the Father was resetting his destiny and telling him, you know what, even though you're on this journey and you're running right now, you can't run away from me.
Yeah, wow.
Your destiny is following you. So there's destiny and identity attached to that. So in Matthew 16, Jesus had just finished asking the disciples, who do people think that I am? They were like, well, some say you're John the Baptist, some say you're Elijah. Peter speaks up and says, you are the Christ, the Son of the living God. And Jesus says, flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, but my Father in heaven has revealed this to you. So basically, Jesus was saying to Peter, the Father has revealed to you what my identity is.
Yeah.
Peter's like, you are the Christ, the Son of the living God. That was the identity of Jesus. And Jesus turns around and says, and you are Peter. So now Jesus is giving him his identity.
Mm-hmm.
And the word Peter is actually a nickname. It means little stone or little rock.
Oh.
He says, you're a little stone. But then he says, on this rock. And that word rock in the Greek means a huge boulder.
Boulder.
On this boulder, I will build my ecclesia. We're talking about a stone and a big rock here.
Little stone. That is a nice boulder.
Yep.
I like that boulder.
So I've always wondered what that rock was. I mean, Jesus is talking about building his ecclesia on a rock. So Jacob had a vision on a rock. He set a rock up and said it was the house of God, poured oil on it. So on this rock.
On this boulder.
Yeah, on this rock, the house of God rock, the rock where you received your identity, I will build my ecclesia.
Wow.
On this foundation stone, this rock. So if the rock of Jacob's ladder is the foundation, if the Father's house is the foundation for the ecclesia,
Yes.
then what that means is that the ecclesia is the house of God on steroids.
Whoa.
Because it's just the starting point.
Yeah.
It's just the foundation. And the ecclesia takes it to a whole nother level yet.
Dean, that was a mega mic drop. Boom!
Boom.
Walk out. Walk out.
Nothing more to say here.
Wipe your hands of this.
That's it. Thor, the hammer has gone down.
So we need a hammer for certain mic drops.
Yeah. Okay. First, we've got to get to Jacob's rock.
Yes.
But then when you add on top of that the revelation of what the ecclesia is, it takes it to a level that is so much higher. It's way up there.
Classic God. Always blowing us away. Understanding the beginnings. We sometimes try to move forward without even understanding the foundation. And so then everything you kind of build on that gets a little wobbly. So to go back and see, what is he saying? He made such a declarative statement there. It's not just random. It's not just like saying the sun set, it was night. Not that that's random.
I don't even think we've done a very good job of doing what the foundation said. You know, we haven't really gotten to the place, even in our gatherings, if that's the foundation, where we are interacting with heaven and moving in union and prophetic revelation and angels and all the things that go along with this house of God story.
Yeah.
But if we take that as just the foundation place, that's the bare minimum, Karitas. Now we're adding on top of this the idea that Jesus says, I will build my ecclesia. The ecclesia is not really the house of God. It's a governing body that is resting on the house of God. It is a council of the courts of heaven set to govern a city on behalf of heaven, resting on the foundation stone of the original intent of the house of God. You put those two things together. Wow.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
I think like you can read something like the time where Jesus got upset and flipped tables and kicked everyone out of the temple who were selling things for the sacrifices. And we kind of get caught on like that little story. Well, yeah, Jesus got angry too, see? But it's like he was so serious about the house of God being so separate from the world and what we think it should look like, and just such a holy, separate spiritual place. No other motives and agendas here. No matter how okay they seem or pretty they seem or innocent they seem. Selling doves seem pretty innocent.
Right.
They're beautiful doves to sacrifice for your offerings. Right. But there was something so precious there. It's so special. I want you to see this. And just because we don't understand it yet, I don't want to stop there. I want to believe him and trust him and just see what he means. Keep going. He cares so much about it.
I think it says in one place, the zeal for the Father's house has consumed him.
Yeah.
He had a zeal for it.
Yeah.
And this is of the Lord,
Yeah.
it says.
It's got to be Bam worthy if Jesus had.
Boom.
If he had zeal for it, there's something there.
Karitas, to end today,
What?
let's
We're ending already? Hold on.
We're going to paint a picture.
Let's
Let's paint a picture, okay?
see your email. Did we even go through the things?
I don't think so. I don't even know what we talked about. Let's start with the Father's house, and then let's add Ekklesia on top of it.
Okay.
Let's get imaginative here.
Okay, you're going to like channel your inner Bob Ross.
Sure.
Happy rock here. Let's add a little bit of seashore gray.
And over in this corner, this little log
Let's be wild.
lives.
We'll be wild and add a log.
Okay.
I feel like Bob Ross had an encounter with the rest
Yes.
of the Lord, and he channeled it everywhere he went.
He was a legend.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about rest first. What does rest look like in the house of God? I think it looks like not a care in the world, not a bit of striving. We're not coming for any reason other than to rest in his presence, find the will of heaven. I think the words that are coming forth are coming from a place of rest and rejoicing. There's a peace about everything that happens. This is an environment of rest. The only way that this can happen, the first thing is we're resting, yoked to the chillocks.
Oh, yes.
We've got our head on his shoulder. So we're resting.
Mm-hmm.
Not only that, but we're in union. We're in him, he's in us, we're in each other, but yet we're all corporately in him as well. Mm-hmm. And he is in us corporately. That's the big mystery of the bride of Christ, is that we're all together, but we're all one. But that corporate expression of union, it's something that is so powerful, evidently, that when it happens, the world takes notice.
Yeah.
It's the way that the world knows.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, prophetic revelation, a dream culture, words from the Father of destiny and purpose, interaction with heaven and with Jesus, a gateway to heaven, meaning that when we come together, we're at the center of a gate that leads directly to heaven. And when we come together to worship, we will enter his gates with thanksgiving, his courts with praise. So we're going into the courts of heaven together. Then, when we do that, the angels start to appear. And there's this portal set up, and we go up together. And we're in this place where we're interacting with angels as a group of people. They're ascending, they're descending, they're carrying out the will of the Father. And we hear from the Father what his will is over our region. And then the words that are brought in a context of destiny and safety and prosperity and wholeness from a place of well-being.
Yeah.
His will over us. The crazy resources that flow into the house of God.
From this, there's no sense of hopelessness. You know how sometimes you can see these situations going on in your city or your environment or your nation and feel quite helpless or hopeless. There's none of that here because you have a different perspective. You're seeing it from a different place, and you have the resources and you have the answers and you have the ability and the authority. And I think we'll be touching more on that.
Yes, we will.
In further episodes, I'm sure.
Because right now, we're only painting a picture of the foundation stone.
We've only gotten our paintbrush dipped in the happy gray, just starting around the edges of this happy stone.
We haven't even started to talk about the Ekklesia being built upon this foundation. This foundation is crazy enough. But now let's add to it the fact that what the Ekklesia that Jesus said he would build really is another dimension where we're adding government to this picture.
Whoa.
The government of the kingdom of heaven is being brought from heaven, and it's impacting our region and our city. I think we're going to go there next week.
Very exciting.
Okay.
Like, it's the only way, because you see when we do it from our own ability, you've seen it from generation to generation to generation, leadership to whatever country you're in, there's always confusion because there's no unity and what are they doing and what are they maybe going to do? There's never peace and harmony, and it's possible, but it's been under the wrong governance. All of these resources have been under the worldly governance, and it's never been okay. How do we access that and have a planet the way God wants it?
Yeah.
Well, like any good Bob Ross painting, it always starts off looking like nothing. Guy calls himself a professional artist, but it ends up just magnificent.
I just can't get the big fro out of my mind right now.
Oh, he was spectacular. You had a fro. Was it as good as his?
No, not even close. All right, Karitas, that's where we're going to leave it today.
Okay.
We've got so much more to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to continue on with this next week.
Yeah. Are you going to write an Ekklesia book?
I've already started on it.
Because you have a couple books out already, and I'm telling you, people, they are good. Should I give a little publicity shout out
Not
to
necessary.
my cool friend Dean, who doesn't want shout outs?
I actually started writing a book on Ekklesia, and I've gotten 2 chapters in so far, and I kind of just felt like I should stop it for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Someday I'll finish it.
Yeah.
When the Spirit breathes on it.
Mm-hmm. One day I'll have to interview you. I have an author here, and I'm going to be interviewing him.
I'm trying to bring this podcast to a close, Karitas.
Okay, sorry, Dean.
We're done.
We're done.
We're not saying anything more. Looking forward to next week
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah, we just kind of leave it hanging here. And
Yeah.
now I have to wait a whole week until we continue this conversation.
We both have to wait a whole week. You're not alone.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for joining us today. Hope
Yeah.
you've enjoyed this conversation as much as we have. And we hope that you have an awesome, grace-filled week.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Wait, should I say something wise? And
Sure.
live long and prosper? No, that's taken. Someone took that. Star Wars, Space Wars.
It's taken, Karitas. Okay, that's it. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.